sewage disposal, Article 6, Sections 14 and 15.
Will, to the extent that it has any sewage,
Which
project doesn't.
Which
fall
doesn't,
under-
right?
Has no bathrooms, right?
So I will say will. So I just wrote that. To the extent the project has no bathroom. The board finds that the project is not or is located in a floodplain area.
It's not. If it is, we're in trouble.
We have a lot of. The board finds that the project will not or will result in air or water pollution.
Will not.
The board finds that the project will not or will have sufficient drinking water current for foreseeable needs of the development. Article 6.
Will, to the extent that it's similar to the sewage line. Nothing there is going to affect the water.
To the extent the project does not call for drinking water, you're not bringing drinking water?
Yeah, it doesn't require.
No.
It's just the classroom building itself. All the facilities will be in the existing buildings that are around it.
The board finds that the project, along or in conjunction with existing activities, will not or will adversely impact quality or quantity of groundwater. Article 6.
Will not.
The board finds that the proposed activity will dispose of all solid waste in accordance with all local regulations, and that the type and quantity of waste proposed to be sent to the town transfer facility will not or will exceed its capacity.
Will not.
The board finds that the project will not or will have a significant detrimental effect on adjacent land uses and properties affected by waste, noise, glare, lighting, fumes, smoke, dust, odors, or their effects on the project.
Will not.
The board finds that the project will not or will cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion.
Will not.
The board finds that the project, to the extent possible, will not or will have an adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic and archaeological sites, or any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline of a water body. The board finds that the project, to the maximum extent possible, will not or will have an adverse effect on significant wildlife habitat.
Will not.
The board finds that the project does not conform or conforms with all other applicable Town of Belgrade ordinances.
It does conform. Well, whatever the positive option.
Conforms, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't actually have one.
The board finds that the project will not or will unreasonably increase the concentration of phosphorus in a great pond.
Will not.
The board finds that the project will not or will conform to the material storage provisions of this ordinance.
Will.
The board finds that the applicant has or does not have sufficient right, title, or interest to undertake the development. Has. finds that the applicant does or does not provide for safe and adequate parking. Pardon me, Nick. I'm on the,
Was that not complete one?
I think so, I'm on page 8 of 10.
One second.
You want this one?
Um,
I've got page 9 and 11.
Well, except that he's gonna have to complete it on the master.
yeah, but thank you.
Thought we were done.
So close.
Yep.
Pieces of paper.
There's only one more thing to go through, I guess.
Is there?
Yeah. You want this to read, or whichever we go?
He should be back in a moment. We'll see if we get through it. It won't take too long.
Hopefully it's sitting in the photocopier.
Yeah. The Beckett Family of Services, is there a mailing address to put down?
I believe it's right in the application.
Is it-
Okay.
They have a facility in Northwalk now, is that correct?
I almost think they sold that one.
Oh, they didn't.
Yeah, I think they did anyway. But they did have one.
I've seen the sign.
Yep.
for your facility.
Pretty sure they,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure they have them in other states too. I think they're quite a big organization.
The applicant's authorized representative is A. Hartston.
Correct?
Map and lot is this. Here it is, page 4. 13, X map lot.
89.
13 lot 89.
Yep.
It's 8, right?
I have 8, so 9 and 10. Thank you, sir.
No, staple it later.
Thank you. So moving along here, not much more to go through.
Okay.
On page 9, the board finds that the project will not or will conform to all applicable provisions of this ordinance, including but not limited to development standards for specific activities where applicable.
Will conform.
And this is where we get to decide whether to either approve or not, but I want to make sure to go over standard conditions of approval with you so you understand where we're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You will see this if you have not already.
Yep.
But I'll just read them to you briefly.
Okay.
Number 1, if construction has not been substantially started within 12 months of board approval, this approval and subsequent permit from the CEO are null and void.
Good with that.
The board approval of this project as described above is limited to that described in the application and depicted in the accompanying plan. So basically, what's approved on paper, what's approved.
Yep.
Nothing more.
Yep.
Number 3, unless a waiver from a specific ordinance standard has been requested by the applicant in writing, and approved by the board. The development or use is required to meet all applicable standards. And then the board approval and its associated permit from the code enforcement officer is transferable to subsequent owners of the property. All subsequent owners are required to comply with the conditions of the project's board approval. Planning board members, are we ready for a motion either up or
Yeah.
down?
Just one question of clarification though. At the last meeting, Al had mentioned, they had sort of jumped the gun a little bit. How much did they jump the gun? Is like the gravel pad, or is the building in place, or?
The building is over there because they had to move it from Sydney School.
Yep, the beam school.
Yep. So it's sitting over there.
Just
So-
sitting
so
over there. It makes a difference on how you craft the
Yep.
condition.
Yep.
Yep.
So I would make a motion, normally I would do prior to construction, I think this one, I would say, that State Fire Marshal's office permit be provided to town code enforcement officer prior to occupation. Does that sound reasonable to you here?
Nope.
They need a building permit?
You did say.
They're doing some interior
Approval, yeah.
renovations and
Subject
stuff like that.
Yeah, probably approval subject
This
to
gets approved on that, fine.
Okay.
providing the State Fire Marshal office permit to the code enforcement officer prior to occupation of the building.
So you have a motion on the floor, it's been
I'll second
seconded.
it. No, it hasn't yet, but it will be now.
Any more discussion? Do you have any questions for us?
Nope.
Do we have any comments for the applicant? All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the very near complete application.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Makes everybody's life easier.
It does. Nick, you, this I have, here. Here's the, what's known as master. Here's this. Thank you. Next up, for new business, we have a shoreline zone application. County Road 250 LLC.
That's me.
Hi.
Hi.
You must be, is it Maryland?
Maryland Devine, yes.
Hi Maryland, welcome. We'll get through this.
Okay.
So you've been in to speak with Gary, I
Yep.
presume?
And Gary's been out to the site.
Fantastic. So you propose to have an addition onto an existing structure, is that right? This is a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot. Is that correct, Gary? It's under an acre lot.
I need to refresh my memory here.
Two lots,
Yeah, it's 2 lots.
Yeah.
2 by lot, substandard.
Oh, yes, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Is the 0.87 acres the combination of the 2 lots or just the 1 lot with
Just one lot.
the building on it?
Correct.
So 2 lots are owned in conjunction?
No, my husband and I own that and that next door, and then this is owned by the LLC. This is
Oh,
not-
I see.
So you got
Okay.
two different
They're
legal
not,
owners.
they're not
Okay,
continuing,
2
yeah.
different
Two different,
2 different owners,
legal entities.
two different legal.
legal entities.
Yeah. Actually, and my husband's not on it. I own that. I own a lot myself. So realize that, yeah.
Well,
That's
excellent.
nice, really.
Yeah. All right, so different entities own
Yes.
different lots.
Correct.
Sounds as though, and on one of these lots, it's what the proposed
Correct.
activity is.
Correct,
And it's under an acre, 0.87 acres.
yes.
There is
So you have the authority to exclude your husband's
I
use of the
can-
driveway?
Yeah, right.
Is that it?
If he's not behaving, yeah,
This is up to fly, right?
right.
And the existing structures that, the A-frame?
A-frame, yeah, do you
currently?
know,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
On the sketch or drawing, is the area, I guess both areas to the left and right of the existing structure where it shows vegetation and such, is that a wooded area or is that?
Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
wooded.
that-
So it looks like a lot of, what looks like, almost like clouds, that's like canopy, is that correct?
Yes, there, it's very, yeah, very,
So,
not much lower vegetation, that would just.
Right, it's a dense tree canopy.
and on this lot, it looks like there's a rectangle, towards the northeast quadrant. What is that?
This is Sandy Cove.
That's actually on the other
That's on the
lot.
other property,
Oh,
that's the other property.
Oh,
That's
so,
Just a
another
cartoon
camp, I think.
representation of
Yeah.
her camp.
That's, yeah, it's a kid, that's another camp, yes.
so, okay, so.
It's this way, yeah. The road, okay, here's the lake, and here's the road, that's our camp.
And so there's a dashed line going east-west sort of, on the right where all the,
Yes,
that's the only part we're talking about?
you're only talking about the part, from here to here, yeah.
And the entire increase of the footprint is all due to the new deck and is it 2 new stairways?
The increase is due to the new addition. The deck footprint is existing currently, and we're just rebuilding it the
Yeah.
same size and the same place.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Because on my top view of what I think is the first floor rep, but it's labeled the second floor on here, says
Oh,
new
the
deck.
second floor, yeah. It is exactly the same size as the old, it's exactly the same deck.
Oh,
It
okay.
just, it's,
So-
leaning right now, I mean, it needs to be
It's
rebuilt.
unstable.
It's unstable, yes.
Okay, so this is a replacement deck?
It
that
is a replacement deck.
Oh, okay, I
I'm
thought it was
sorry.
entirely new.
No, it is
Nothing's
not,
there now.
no, it's the same, footprint, only it's the same. Exactly the same.
And am I correct, that's the first floor?
Correct.
Yes.
I don't know, you know, because we did it, yeah. Yeah, we got 2 second floors here, yeah, that is the first floor.
I mean, you can have 2 second floors if you
Yeah.
want. A little tough.
So it looks like let's see, the side of the building that's going towards the water
Yes,
is like 37 feet, am I reading that correctly?
Mhm.
From the normal high water mark?
Mhm.
And how wide is that building?
I'll let you do this.
Do you know?
It's right here.
It is,
That's a new one.
it's about 25'8" deep, including the deck.
You don't mean the part, do you mean the part on the lake or the other way? Which dimension you want?
You mean going back from the water?
That's
It's 25'8".
Including the deck.
All these are- From a square foot perspective, would not be a problem in that distance from the water. That's all they did.
It'll work non-conforming. I think that's correct.
I'm not sure what the question was again.
About the fact that it's parallel to the lake shore rather than towards the lake shore.
As long as it's parallel and gets no closer. it's
Right,
fine.
so, and I had said it's no more non-conforming.
Right.
I thought you said more not.
For my love, not double negatives.
And this is all within 75 feet of the normal high water mark. Right?
Yes.
And the whole thing is.
Peter, just for the record, I had just, done the calculation to see how much coverage we had of the lot area, and although we don't have square footage for the stair walkway and a little bit of driveway that goes onto this lot, just the camp alone is only 2% coverage, and there's no way they're gonna exceed 20% coverage of
Yeah.
vegetated areas.
Because I calculated out before the meeting started, and they would have had to have 6,600 square feet to get 20%. So
Yeah.
I didn't see how we'd do that, so that's good.
It's 6600.
Are there any issues that
I don't think so.
of that we're not?
I don't believe so. No, I met with them down there. We looked at it.
What's the height of the building?
From lowest point of grade to the peak existing is 24 feet, and we're just matching that with the new addition.
It'll be the same as the A-frame, isn't it?
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay. And the current building is 964 square feet.
Are you, it's the footprint existing is about 640,
The existing.
but there is, depending on how you calculate, you could say the floor area upstairs will be added in,
Footprint. Okay.
but it just depends on how you calculate.
I guess I just want to make sure we're asking the right questions. For non-conforming structures within 75 feet, our current ordinance talks about within that can't be above 1,000 square feet. So where are we with this?
It looks like the footprint area is 909 when you're done, correct?
Right.
Yep.
That's okay.
So as long as we're looking at
Yep.
footprint area,
Yeah, the floor area, the fact that the floor area on the second floor doesn't really count.
because of our definitions support that, right?
Yeah.
So are we okay then with the values that the applicants have in the footprint area that relate to what we are saying in the current ordinance, that this is satisfied?
I think so.
Zero going with this, we don't want to have it over down.
Right, absolutely, that's why we're under.
Okay.
None of the trees that are being removed for the addition, they are gonna be in front of the camp.
No, one's on the side and it's actually growing kind of into the,
Into the
Structure.
it's into the overhang.
yeah,
Is it really?
Yep.
yeah, so that's coming down, and then there's a couple others on the, yeah,
Yeah, on
on
the
the,
south
on
end.
the, on the right-hand side, yeah.
This site plan shows the 3 trees to be removed.
Typically, unless, there's nothing here that I've seen that deals with the stormwater coming off of the roof. So typically what we do is we approve, for the condition that you, install one of the best management practices from
Like a gutter or something.
DEP. So one option would be, drip edge, filtration, for example. which is what most people like because it's easy. But just so you know,
Okay,
And oftentimes we would have a pamphlet to give to the applicant that describes those best management practices that George talked about.
okay.
So it can direct you with some, to have some options. We don't care which one you use, as long as
I
you
mean,
watch
there's-
it.
and there's rain gardens and, you know, a host of other
Oh, they give you a
options.
bunch of options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but,
And this work isn't, don't involve any, mechanical, sort of excavation or anything like that with
Mechanical, what is that, what do you mean mechanical?
Excavation.
you're gonna get any dozers down there digging
an
around?
excavator.
I don't know. We're having, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far.
Well, your new piers are not gonna go below grade. So
Right. Right now
not
it's sitting
much of
on
anything.
so it's
Just-
gonna
Just,
continue to be
yeah,
up
just
here.
equipment to jack what's there.
there, yeah, we have to
Because
jack it up.
it's like falling, it's tipping, it has
Yeah,
to be
right.
jacked and all new
Yeah,
piers. put
we're
underneath.
more concerned.
We're not doing foundations, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
right,
no,
yeah,
no,
that-
no.
We're more concerned about if there's gonna be excavation activities, kind of thing that could generate some soil erosion.
Gotcha.
Because then there's a requirement that you have a DEP certified excavation contractor. That doesn't seem to apply here.
In this particular lot, here you've been down there,
Mhm.
it's fairly flat, is that correct?
No, it's steep.
Steep.
The camp's flat, but it's quite a grade
Behind
to the
it,
road
yeah.
behind it.
Oh,
I was guessing that was the case given that stairway.
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, great. Actually, that's a good clue too.
Oh, George, talk about the existing access footpath and wood stairs from the road down
Yeah,
to the site to the camp.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, those are gonna be, it's gonna be natural, it's gonna be terrace, natural. Those are coming out, cause they are no code
Rickety.
whatsoever. Yeah, right, yeah, they're very bad.
And the new one's gonna be in the same location, new area?
I believe so, yeah. There's a little parking area right at the top of the road. There's no way to get into the camp with a car. You just have to park at the top and then you walk down. So they have to be, yeah, totally out of there. And then we plan on doing just a, you know, like with the the terracing to go down instead of the way it is now.
Sounds much safer.
Well, yeah, you can't.
For the application.
You can't walk down that, yeah. I don't know how they.
Yeah, cause that's, go ahead, Rich.
I noticed that there's on the proposed site plan, potential construction access through woods off end of the existing driveway.
That's that camp next door, the driveway comes down and there's a really nice little access there that's almost all, I mean, it doesn't have any trees, and you can come in and,
I was
So
just
you can get-
wondering, when we were talking about the soil erosion before, is that just access, bringing the stuff,
yeah, bring
Down,
materials in, just
it's
easier
not-
than coming down the,
it's not creating an extension of the driveway type of thing?
we're not connecting them, no.
Is, on your site plan, is the dotted line that goes across in parallel, to the lake shore, is that
That's the 100-foot.
100? Okay, that's what I assumed.
Mhm.
So, Rich, does the walkway need to be added to the permit application? If they're gonna replace that?
It's a good question.
Probably should.
So, I think what we can do right here and now, if everybody else's agreement is then have you alter on the application and indicate that either on the site drawing or, and on the front page, that the walkway is gonna be replaced in the same location.
Correct.
And you can just initial it.
Okay.
So, you have the original.
Nick has the original? You'd be surprised to do that?
That, the first page.
Right now?
Please do that,
Okay,
yeah.
oh, okay,
So,
sorry.
so under item 5 on
Wait,
the
no.
first page, if you just add, and replacement of existing walkway. Or something similar. Initial.
Today's date.
And, oh,
Nope.
and on the site drawing,
Oh, okay.
if you could indicate likewise.
Okay, where is, just, and it's, comes down,
Just put an arrow or something.
okay.
What replacement.
That way you're applying for everything you really want.
Thank you for doing that.
No.
Any more questions for the applicant?
For me.
I think we're ready to entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion, we approve the application as revised, with the condition that, stormwater drainage from the roof or runoff of the roof be handled according to DEP's best management practices. Did we have any other conditions? I don't remember.
Nick, you okay with that? Did you get that? We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Any more discussion? Do you have any questions for us? You know what we're asking?
The storm stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
by the
we
way, that'll come with the permit, the
Oh, the booklet,
explanation.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
sure you know about that.
Yes.
You're not familiar with it already.
It's really helpful to just go to the site. We don't have any more questions for them. Do you have any questions for us? No? All those in favor? Reapproved, none against? The permit
you.
will be mailed to you.
Thank you.
Good luck on the project. It looks exciting.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Going to Portland?
Go to Portland, yeah. No, I'm staying in, Belgrade, because the Red Sox are on.
There you go. There you go. Go Sox. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. That one's done. Next, Gary.
I don't have the original. I don't know where they have.
Okay.
Elliot there.
We got Elliot. Hey, Elliot.
Hi, Peter.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What do we have going on here?
So Elliot's proposing an addition to his existing home. The addition is beyond the 100-foot setback. You have the plan, right? In front of you.
I have the first page of an application.
And it's double sided.
And it's on the other side.
Thank you.
And on Elliot's plan, down towards the bottom, he's calculated the total impervious surface, and it's 18.7% of the total lot area. Do you have it on your?
Yeah.
Would you like to see the larger one? Can you see it better?
No, I can see it online, thank you.
Okay.
So Elliot, what is the actual addition gonna be?
I'll give you all the background, George. The existing house labeled camp on this plan, that's a 1.5 story with a daylight basement. And that replaced an old camp that was built in the late 50s. And we came before the planning board in 1994 and got a permit to replace the old camp with this year-round house, which we've lived in since. And the existing camp is 28 by 28, and there's a deck on the front on the lakeside and also extends around the south and partly around the northwest corner. The first floor of the basement is, probably, and I don't have it on here, but it's 10 or 12 feet above the water level of Great Pond. It's well above the flood zone. The existing camp, you were talking to the previous applicant about best management practices. I've got gutters, the ridge runs perpendicular to the lake, and it's a cape. So the roof water runs off to the north and the south, and I've got gutters both on the south wall and the north wall that take that water back to the east wall, and then I've got it piped underground into like crushed stone dry wells.
Okay.
So we don't see any water on the surface. The addition is going to be on a slab, and the first floor of the addition will match the first floor of the existing house, and the exterior is gonna also go up to the roof of the existing house. So there's gonna be, the peak of the house is gonna extend straight back from the lake. The roof lines are gonna be the same. The addition, the footprint is 12 by, the existing camp I told you was 28 by 28. The footprint of the addition is going to be 12 by 26.5, a little bit less than the 28. Plus there's going to be an entranceway, an open roof that extends somewhat out to the north. So the first floor, that square that extends to the north off the northeast corner of the existing camp is going to just be an open roof, so an entryway at ground level. And then you're going to go into an open atrium space, which is really going to be like a mudroom. Then on the south end, and about 1/3 of the footprint of the first floor, is going to be a laundry room. And then on the second floor, you can see there's overhangs to the south and to the east on a portion of the east wall. That's going to be a bedroom, and it's going to overhang 2 feet to the south and 2 feet to the east from the first floor level. So there'll be like 28 by 26.5, 12 by 26.5 on the first floor, and then about half of the second floor is going to be, instead of 12, it's 14 that it extends out. So it will be 1.5 story. The floor level of that addition, which is the same as the first floor of the camp, is 20 or 22 feet above the water level. So like Gary mentioned, we're all outside of the 100 feet with this addition. I've got the impervious areas shown existing, which includes, I've got 1,952 square feet of the existing camp deck and sheds.
Yep.
And then there's a little bit of Burton Woods Road that you can see in just barely at the top of the driveway. So we've got that in there. So the existing road and driveway, I've got the 1,442 square feet, so the total existing is 3,394. And then I've shown the 436 square foot of the camp addition. And then that, there is a walkway there, but it's crushed stone and it's grown up into grass. But we may be improving that a little bit, so I've shown that as well. So that'll be the total impervious existing plus proposed that I've got shown.
So the height's gonna be the same as the existing structure?
Yes, and I'd say, George, the daylight basement, it's a regular height, so say 9 feet from floor to floor. The first floor would be another 9 feet from floor to floor, and then it's 28 feet, it's like 12 more feet, so it's 30 feet on the lakeside existing. But this additional would be 9 feet less than that because it's just a slab and we don't have that additional 9. So it'll be 9 plus, yes, 12, 21 feet will be the addition, the height.
The runoff off the roof of the new portion of the structure, the addition, was it your intent to have it go into the existing cistern or?
Partly, and I hadn't thought about that until I heard you talking to the applicant ahead of me. On the south wall, yes, that gutter can be extended, but tipped so that it goes into the same downspout and into the same dry well. On the north side, that entryway, that kind of canopy, the ridge is going to run north-south. So it's going to be like a dormer that comes off the sloped roof. The east slope of that dormer, I can run into that downspout that's right there and do the same thing that I'm going to do on the south. Did I say the west? That west slope.
East side.
I meant the west. I've shut, yes, so thanks for correcting me. The west side of that dormer, I can put into that same downspout because that'll slope that way to that corner. The east side, I've got the walkway there. I can put crushed stone there. It's a small space, but I could do crushed stone there. So that would take care of both dormer areas plus that north slope of the additions. It'll all be going into those 2 locations, yes. So yeah, that agreeable to that.
It might be easier rather than trying to add all that in here is for us to do what we did on the prior application, add a condition.
Sure, that's fine. Yep.
And then you can do the
Okay.
2 approaches.
Yeah. Yeah, that's acceptable. And a good recommendation.
I'm just kind of curious, upstairs in the proposed addition, will access be from inside, only inside the current structure?
Yes, but from 2 directions. Actually, yes, it'll go into the current structure. There'll be a hallway. And then there'll also be a stairway that goes down, which will be in the atrium. So from that bedroom, you can either go down in a stairway. It's going to be like a ship stair, right into the atrium, or you can go west down a hallway in the existing house.
Cool.
I'll make a recommendation next time you come for an expansion. It'd be helpful if we had a vertical or I'm not sure what profile of what you're doing rather than just from up top because we really can't tell in the application what you're actually doing until we talk to you.
Right, yeah, I understand. Yes, okay.
I see you expanded once, I thought maybe you might expand the third time.
Doesn't have a lot of percentage left.
No, right,
Oh, you're right.
no, we're right there.
1.3%.
Yeah, gonna have to be precise.
Yeah,
And get rid of the shed.
yeah, really.
The, one last question for me, Elliot, is, you said this is gonna be on a concrete slab,
Yes, with frost wall, with a
with
slab.
frost wall, so
Yes.
there'll obviously be excavation work necessary for the frost wall.
Yes,
So one thing that we're lacking then is the DEP certified contractor that'll be required.
and that, I can
And that-
get that, yeah, it's gonna be McGee Construction
You
that's
know, that with
doing
the
it.
condition as well.
Okay, all right,
Every standard. Like that.
sure.
So I'm sensing two conditions.
I think so.
Yes.
Just guessing. Because we talked about it, whatever two. All right, any more questions about this application? I would entertain a motion.
I would take a chance. So I would, make a motion to approve the application with, two conditions. First, that the name and license number of DEP certified contractor be provided to the code enforcement officer for the start of construction. Get that, Nick. And the second, that stormwater from the addition be handled in accordance with DEP best management practices.
So we have a motion on the floor with two conditions. It's gotta be seconded. And it has been seconded, thank goodness. Any more discussion on this? Elliot, do you have any questions for us? I think you know where we're coming from on these things. So.
Oh, yes, I do, I understand. Questions that aren't applicable to the motion that's on the floor, so I'll just hold off.
Do we have any more comments or? All right, all those in favor of this application? 3 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you.
Permit will be mailed to you.
Excellent. Question, because I didn't look and I could have asked Gary, but what we're planning on is to do all of the earthwork this right away, because this is a good season to get in and out of our mile-long camp road, even though it's, and then just stabilize all of that, and then actually get into the structure next spring. So we'll be starting soon. But if we were held up for any reason, is it a year or 2 years at the
It's
permit?
a year to make a substantial start.
Okay. All right. Yes, that's my only,
You'll be fine.
yeah, okay. Good, thank you.
Thanks, Elliot.
Good night.
Good to see you.
This is the.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah.
I think you're lucky enough to be last on the agenda.
Yeah, I thought you would have had your fill of us.
Seems to be the run of the mill here, right? Torture at the end.
Must have been such a good time last time.
There you go. Thanks. Hey, Gary, you have your application?
So, this is Doug and Jean Legg. If you recall, they were in before and they're building a new house. 153 Cathedral Pines Road. This application is for a garage that they want to include on that property. 28 by 28 garage. Site plans on the back side.
And do we have, calculations on impervious?
Just like, I just want to look for numbers off this large area.
That lot is how big? Tim?
33,000 square feet. The place where the garage is going, refresh my memory, is it, it's not wooded at this point? Is it a wooded area where the garage is going, or is it just grass or whatever?
No, it's kind of woods, it's woods in there, so.
This, yeah, that calculation, they would have to
Yeah, they're
have
way,
6,600 for,
they're way under.
they have to have 6,600 square feet of stuff to exceed 20%.
Yep.
Straightforward. And, the driveway would be coming off Eagle Pines.
Existing driveway will be on the north side of the driveway.
Got it. Got it.
The house and the leach field have all been approved, all right? And I'm trying to get this approved, so when they come in and do the concrete for the foundation of the house, right, they can also come in and do the slab, right, for the garage at the same time.
Yep,
So it'll
makes
be-
great sense.
So,
And, I'm curious, is the orientation of the garage such that the gable end would face the existing driveway?
yes, yes.
You'd be able to, these two doors, that's what these are. Gotcha. That's what I was assuming, but I wanted to make sure to ask.
Yeah.
You'll come in and then just do a perpendicular to go into the drive, the bay.
Right.
Very nice. Nice looking garage. Like that, I like that.
Anything looks great on paper.
I know, but having that other door back there, there's another one,
Yes.
very helpful.
Well, we have a Polaris side by side. And we're the type of people who keep everything undercover. So what will be nice is that it's long enough so that we can put the small fishing boat in there and use that door right for the side by side.
That's a good thought.
So,
It is.
and that's on, that would, well, for our purpose, it's facing the lake, right?
Right.
But still, it's, you know, it's useful and it's
Absolutely.
practical.
Because without it, and with everything else parked in there, you'd be kicking yourself. Why didn't I put a door in there? So otherwise you have to move everything out to get down to the, all right.
So just to bring you update on the house that's out there, right, it's all scrubbed out and everything, and, I'd like to get this scrubbed out right and get it filled in so that it can sit over the winter. And the concrete couldn't get it in here in the fall, right, so the first thing in spring, right, things will be already set up right, so they can come in and do both all in one time.
Got it. Sounds like a good plan. Okay.
Oh, we did about 10% too.
Yeah.
I just, doing calculations, George already did it, we'll talk about just the buildings themselves, about 10% lot coverage. Buildings, and you included the driveway too.
Yeah, and I assumed it was 12 feet wide.
Yes.
Way down.
We're about 10, a little more than 10% that way, so unless there's an equal amount of
Right.
soil, gravel on the property or whatever instead of vegetation, I think we're fine.
It seems, it would seem.
Pardon me?
It would seem as though we're fine, unless there's something else that we don't know about. Okay, right, any more questions for the applicants? Or about this application?
But the only thing I was thinking of is part of the approval, will that have to be, well, I was gonna think of the runoff off the roof or whatever.
Right.
It'd be difficult. Are you going to, where your side door is that gonna just be, I mean, is it feasible to put a stone drip edge, in front of that, side door of the garage? If we,
The one on the side there?
yeah, if you were, you know, for a runoff off the roof to catch it by
Where
the.
you're gonna take your ATV and stuff.
Or do some type of triangle or something like that on the roof, right?
Divert it.
Yeah, to divert the
Oh,
water,
oh,
right?
okay.
There'll be a metal roof
Yeah.
on top, right?
Yep,
So
yep. Yeah, so
we'll
that'll work.
divert that either to a gutter or to the, stone and perforated pipe underneath, so. Good question, though. Always have good questions here.
We try.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget.
Which brings me to a point after this application, we'll worry about it later, but I think we may have made an error on the first application.
Okay. We'll talk. So, are we ready for a motion then? If there are no more questions?
I make a motion, we approve the application as presented, with the provision that, all, storm water runoff from the roof be directed, be managed according to DEP's best management practices, which may include a stone line drip edge.
Motion on the floor and seconded. Any more discussion? Do you have any questions for us? We might have more for you.
Yeah.
I don't think we do.
You take your chances, you know?
We're fine.
Okay. All right, therefore, all those.
Smart man.
Yeah, I know, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none against. The permit will be mailed to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
All right, thank you, Gary.
And we
Yep.
can all go home and watch the Red Sox, right?
I know, when, do they start at
It's about
8?
now.
Yeah, just about now, yeah.
That's the one benefit my son has to the West Coast. He can watch the games and go to bed at a decent time.
What was it, 1 o'clock last night when I was over?
Yep,
Yeah, something like that.
1:30.
I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up in the morning.
I don't think you were alone with that one.
Quick question.
Or do you have something in that
Double email or mail? I don't know. Either mail set up. You have another mail address you want to do?
Yeah, we're gonna be heading forward.
Okay, you want to mail it forward?
Why don't you give me your email? And I'll send it to you, that way we're on record. Okay. I just didn't want you to send something and then have it come back to you, right? Because it cannot be forwarded.
Does this mean you can all go home now?
Almost.
A little more business.
Yeah, we don't wanna end too early. Ruin our good record.
Okay, gotcha, good, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll see you.
All right.
The only thing-
Good luck with your project.
Go Sox.
We'll come down there and take a
I
look
You
at it.
will.
I hope you will.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, good night.
Good night.
Night. Give us the bad news, Rich.
What did you think
Well,
on the commercial
we've
application?
been working on the county road application, LLC, not first. We've been working on the changes to shoreline zoning so long that I've gotten my mind we're there, but if you
What's the volume,
Not volume,
or no?
but we still use floor area in our
Floor area.
current ordinance, not footprint. We're going to footprint. And the application we approved for Mrs. Devon, we approved 1,239 square feet of floor area within 75 feet of the water.
That's why I was asking that question. Cause I was confused as to what she was saying about,
But she's not adding any, is she? She adding floor area to what exists?
I didn't know if,
Well,
Well,
according
the
to
second
her
floor
application,
was-
she is.
I didn't know if it on the second floor was called floor area, or if it's all under footprint.
I mean, it makes sense that you'd be adding some, looking at the profiles. Not a lot, but some.
Right.
One of these things, if the ordinance passes in November, it's in November, right?
Yep.
Oh, just
3 weeks.
Couple weeks.
couple of weeks. Maybe a way to handle this is ask her to hold off construction for, she's probably not gonna do anything.
I don't think she's gonna.
Because if our ordinance passes, this would all be legal.
Yep.
All perfect. Okay, but under the current ordinance, so we should have said, why don't you come back in 3 weeks, or we'll condition this permit to be effective. Well, we can't even do that today.
You can't even do that, cause you could be voted down.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't.
So, Rich, what's the limit on floor area?
1,000.
See, it says floor, we went to footprint, or we're
Right.
going to footprint. Right now, it still says floor area, so you add all the floors of all the floor area of the different floors and the decks and stuff like that. So,
You know, just looking at the profiles, let's see,
I think she,
I think that's, it doesn't seem to add up.
no, because she even said it, we know about the 1,000, it's not gonna exceed 909.
Then that's why I said, you know where we're going with this, right?
Mhm.
Not to go over 1,000.
Right,
She
she
right.
said that's why it's 909. 909 square feet.
when you say it doesn't add up to it, you're talking about,
The floor, what her numbers for floor area, present structure nine
Right, I think
sixty-four,
she made,
proposed 1239.
I think that's where she made her error. The way she put that.
so it's somewhere around
I mean-
300 feet difference, right?
Yep.
Which would be a 10 by 30, or,
Yep.
which would be that area on the second floor. Where the dormers come out, make it
Yeah.
wider.
I don't know.
It isn't a lot.
No.
If you look at the side view, and you take the A-frame, and the A-frame is what's there, and the deck is what's there, so the only additional floor area is that essentially the area across the top of the first floor that runs into the left-hand side.
Right, yeah.
And on the right-hand side, there really is no new floor area because
It's the same.
it's the same outside dimension.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know whether we wanna do anything really at this point, except to keep in mind if we have another application. I guess you gotta treat everybody the same, but, short of telling her to hold off, she ought to hold off 3 weeks or something, because we made, an error. It's one of these things where, I wanted to bring it up, because we obviously are still dealing with the current ordinance.
Well, I mean, I was confused as well until I heard her response to you, Peter, which seemed, I thought maybe meant that the number on the application was in error.
I think it is, because she said that's why we know about the 1,000, that's why it's 909.
Yeah, that's the.
But they have that listed under footprint.
No. I don't know.
although when you look at it, it doesn't seem like they added 300 square feet.
Yeah, no, that's,
floor area.
yeah, that's, I mean,
No, because I was in the existing structure in this floor area on the second floor now.
right,
The
yeah,
deck-
so it's just that small increment that they're adding. But I can't really get a handle by looking at the, plan view.
No.
Or the floor plan.
Is it fair that we get a handle on the plan view and get a handle on what's really being asked, if we're confused, or if we think that there's an error in what has been indicated for floor area for the proposed structure, and if we think that it shouldn't be 1239, it be something less, then we get what that value is? Should we get that and correct it? To come in, work with Gary, identify exactly what's different in terms of the floor area, put the, whatever that value is, put it down here, if we think there's an error. That's my question.
What I'm trying to figure out is why there's even, are these people who, they expanded it too, in addition to just going up, correct? The footprint expanded.
No, I don't think so. The deck is just a replacement.
Yeah,
But it says-
which is where, I mean, that's why I had to ask that question, because one, it says new deck, but that aside, it looked like that's where all the,
Expansion would be.
What I'm reading here on the diagram of the proposed site plan, it says proposed new footprint for addition. So is this all correct?
that's how I,
Proposed new footprint with addition. 909 square feet.
That's right near what, Rich, where they're talking about taking out
Yeah,
2
see.
trees.
yeah,
Yeah.
see, I think that's actually might be wrong too. I think that might include the reconstruction of the existing deck.
See, that's where the deck is.
Yeah, or just based on their site drawing. Same page.
If all they were doing was replacing the deck and expanding on the changing the A-frame to the essentially dormer or whatever construction, I don't see any increase in footprint.
No.
Well, that's why I think that number's an error.
So do I do.
So you're sure, Gary, that they weren't actually proposing to expand
The deck?
the main structure?
No. No. Other than the dormer thing.
Other than the build-up, yeah.
Right. I mean, clearly they're getting more volume out of it, but
But that don't matter.
and I'm not sure now that they're even getting more footprint.
And volume is no longer an issue in our land,
Volume isn't
right?
an issue.
No.
And whatever, still can't figure out where the you know, I can't orient the drawings well enough to figure out where the,
We got the drawing of the, this must be the water facing side.
The deck, the one with the deck, it's being replaced this.
This is the water here.
so it goes like this.
No, we had it right, this.
Oh, like that, yeah.
Water toward me.
Right.
Stepping up.
Right.
So the deck is back here.
Back there. So it's this side of the structure that the additional floor area.
Right, but probably not more than, did you say it's more than 5 feet or so, or?
It's less than that. Bet you it's
And the whole structure is only how long?
24.
The additional floor area is not more than 100 and some square feet.
No.
So.
So it's still putting it over 1,000, but less than the 1,239.
Right.
Quite a bit less than 1239.
Well.
I'd hate to have her come back from Portland to deal with this, but,
Plus, she's an architect, so I'm sure the lady has to pay her if she comes back. More money.
Well, the architect's from Hamden, right?
Yeah, she is.
So she's not next door either.
Right.
that was the architect that was with her.
Yeah.
I think she was here before.
Yeah, I
I do
recognize
too.
the name. I think she's done work on Great Pond.
Could we at this point, maybe, I hate to burden you, but could you call her and ask to just get clarification from her and make sure that we understand exactly what?
Mhm.
I think we understand what she's doing, but,
Yep.
I guess
I think really the question comes down to, you know, are they really going over 1,000 square feet floor area?
Okay.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I'll talk to her.
And what,
my best guess is they may be approaching or slightly over 1,000, but they're certainly not at 1,239.
No.
that's, I agree with you. And then, if they are over 1,000 square feet in floor area, what is our next step? I mean, do we have the authority to change our mind, or do we just sort of bring this to the board of appeals, sort of there?
I think, I would think we'd have the authority, we contacted her soon or whatever, and said we may have made an error, we need clarification. Thinking that's okay. If we ever sat back and waited 30 days, I think it's clear that it would be over.
I think we still need to do the right thing, get clarification. So if you would be so kind as to, let her know that we were looking at this in the second thoughts as to what we were understanding when we approved it.
Mm-hmm.
That's appropriate and fair to the other taxpayers, because we have
1,200.
Yeah, 1,200 square feet based on what we think she's doing. Replacing a deck, you got the same. You're adding upstairs, about 3 or 4 feet wider than what it was before, and 24 feet or 26 feet, something.
4.
Yeah, 24 by 5 feet at most. That's 100 square feet, so it's possible she may literally be almost at 1,000. Now 12,839 came, I don't see it.
In floor area is livable by our definition, that's what I was asking, that thing about definition.
It doesn't have to be livable as such, but generally it's kind of what we're talking about, I guess. I mean, livable isn't part of the definition, but we don't count attics that are like 4 feet high and stuff like that.
Right.
Some of the horizontal areas of the structure enclosed by exterior walls, i.e. floors, excepting basement floors, plus the horizontal area of any unenclosed portions of a structure such as porches or decks.
Now, let's at this point just try to seek clarification.
Yeah.
What she's doing.
That would be
Otherwise,
appropriate.
we'll just compound.
Yeah, let's just get clarification on it.
Sorry to get stuck with this here.
Fine.
After we voted and got on to the next one, I'm thinking to myself, what does our ordinance say now? And that's like, working on the new ordinance for so long, it's half the stuff that we've changed. I'm kind of thinking in my mind it's already there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the other thing too is I heard her response to you that they were aware of the 1,000 and they weren't going to exceed it.
Right.
So they said with the implication.
Well, because I
Should
asked.
have had them change the application to reflect that, because the application doesn't reflect that.
No.
Okay, all right, so let's get clarification. That was a little muddy right now. Gary, what's new?
Nothing, really.
Nothing
Nope.
else going on?
No more commercial development applications that I'm aware of for now.
Terrific.
Yep. Actually, I don't have any applications yet for November 1st, maybe.
I have a couple things.
Yes.
And actually, Rich was there. We had, Matt Scott has us over for breakfast every 6 months or so. Denny Ketchel was there as well. And as soon as he arrived, we started talking down business rather than chronic wasting disease and all the other titillating subjects we were talking about. But he mentioned a couple things that I thought I should pass along. One was that he, and I guess Ricky, have received some complaints, and I don't know who they're from, about the commercial development review ordinance application process and the application itself. Now, once we got talking, Denny didn't, he doesn't know any of the history of what the application process was and what its, problems were prior, and wasn't even aware that there was, that in some cases, albeit not many, other than that ball field, there's some where it only requires a permit from you. But, so I think it sounds like, people complain that, the application's too long and it's too complex and.
I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time.
And
Everybody I hand an application, they say 38 pages. They're overwhelmed. So they hire an engineer. Now I asked Andy Dunbar a couple questions. I said, as an example, R&R Auto. Andy said, to go through their application, he said, in labor, I had $10,000. I felt guilty charging them $10,000, so I charged them $7,500. Jana Edelstein down in Belgrade Lakes, who's selling something out of her home. He said I had 7,500 in her process, and again, I felt guilty. I charged her 5,000. So the complaint that I'm getting is you almost need an engineer to get through the planning board process, and it's very costly.
And that's what how Denny described it too.
Because I've heard it numerous times. Ricky's heard it from numerous people and passed it along to me.
As we discussed it, you know, I think we're probably gonna get invited to the select board to discuss this.
Oh, good.
And, I mean, the way I described it to Danny was, look, you know, when we went through, during the comprehensive review process, we got all these complaints from the business community saying that the planning board was playing favorites. Well, that wasn't the case, because I had reviewed all the applications that had been submitted from 2001 to 2011. And it wasn't a matter of playing favorites with Steve's application, where he waived his own fee and some other stuff. But that aside, by and large, it wasn't about favorites. It was about just inconsistent implementation of the standards of the ordinance. And the reason for that, one of the reasons was, one, the checklist wasn't complete. Two, the application didn't ask most of the right questions. It didn't guide people to provide the information that the ordinance requires. So the burden was entirely on the planning board members to remember all the questions to ask, rather than putting the burden on the applicant. You know, I mean, the site drawing requirements are the site drawing requirements. They don't change. Doesn't matter how, you know, if you got 1 page or 38 pages of application. So, you know, there's that. So this is, you know, a way of kind of leading people by the nose through the application process. But, you know, I can understand that it's intimidating for some people. We provided written guidance for the first time. The fact that people don't read it isn't our fault.
The alternative to a big application is essentially a bunch of incomplete applications. Incomplete information.
Right.
What's that again?
I said the alternative to a
long
application is an incomplete information.
And I don't think we've ever had a complete application that wasn't done by an engineer.
You're probably
That's
right.
probably
Yeah, I
correct.
think
But
you're
at the same time, I would say that, not that I think everybody needs to get an engineer, but I think if people put their mind to it, you don't, I mean, if you get into phosphorus and stuff like that, yeah, maybe you do. But most of the stuff on that application is a copy of the such and such map, a copy of this or whatever. You know, that's not, in my mind, that.
No.
One of the biggest complainers is Al Hodgson. He's complained to me 3 or 4 times. And he's the engineer that's making the money.
Well, and that's ironic, since it was his application that you could approve.
Right.
The ball field.
Right. He, no, I couldn't, could I? Oh, the ball field.
Yeah, the ball field,
Yeah, that's right. But he said to me numerous times, he goes, you know, he said the voters voted for the commercial development review ordinance. They didn't vote for that application. I said, Al, I don't believe the voters have to vote for an application. That's process. That's a process.
Well, as Rich said, you know, I mean, if push comes to shove and people want a shorter application, okay, fine, but it's gonna make our jobs harder, and more applications are gonna be rejected, and go more meetings than they do now. I mean, admittedly, you know, it's a minimum of 2 meetings because of the public review process, but
we can get them done in 2 weeks.
we can get them if we get a complete application.
Right. And that's the beauty of having the application all laid out. Is that if the applicant and consultant or engineer or whoever it is that's working with them can meet all those things that we've guided them through, we can get through the full application in 2 weeks.
Anyway, the way I left it with Denny was that he should get in touch with you about, you know, if they want to invite us.
It used to be 1 meeting though, and now they're all 2.
Right,
at a minimum.
but they were approvals of incomplete applications,
A lot of them.
you know, and
Right.
where a lot of the standards simply weren't met.
So it comes down to, what does the town want?
Yeah,
Does the town want to have sufficient information? In doing so, that to me would be, you have to supply it by way of answering questions in the application.
I mean, I have no doubt that our process could be improved. I mean, there's, it always can, when can it, who's perfect, but, and, I'm certainly open to listening to any constructive suggestions along those
Absolutely.
lines, but, given the number of, unsophisticated applicants we get versus, the minority that are done by consulting firms, I just can't imagine what we would have gone through with Ben's Auto if it was bad enough as it was.
Oh.
Yeah,
Even as it was, we did have it.
Yeah, I know it. So, and which we're legally not supposed to do.
And the other one was,
I can't even talk about it with Becky because she
the other
go
one
on
was
one
that,
side and me down the
the
other.
boat repair place. He was here, how many times?
Which one?
Kennebec Boat Repair?
Oh, no, exactly.
Probably 4
So,
times.
I don't know. And the thing too is that people, because I don't know anything other than what's in our ordinances, I don't have the broader view like my wife does of other towns. She's always amazed what this ordinance doesn't govern, like any kind of new commercial development, regardless of size, because that's the way site review ordinances are generally written in other towns that don't have town-wide zoning.
Another one that complained to me, just last week, was Elliot Thayer.
Oh, really?
Yep. Elliot said, I just went to the Augusta Planning Board for that big new Irving station over on Riverside Drive. 12 gas pumps, big Irving station. He said, from the time I dropped the application on the table till they approved it, was 15 minutes. All done.
That was
Wow.
the story we got from Den. It wasn't Irving.
It was 15
15 minutes
And he said,
versus
I just
2 or
went
3 meetings.
NRF Distributors on Industrial Drives doing a big addition. He says, went to the Augusta Planning Board again, gave them my application that evening, 7 minutes. It was approved and I was out of there.
Wow. Well, what do they do that we don't do?
They have a city planner, for one thing, that does, she does all the findings of facts to make
Yeah,
sure that
right.
the application is complete prior to it going to the board.
Right.
So that's.
And some towns like Reedfield, what they do is, it's a lot worse there than it is.
I've heard.
What they do is they'll have the town attorney draft the findings of fact and law. And
The applicant.
so once they've gotten to that point, it's one more meeting because there's a pause in the process to allow the attorney to do that, brings it back to the board, and then the board votes on that.
So the applicant should be paying those attorney fees, not the taxpayers.
Either way, the attorney's getting paid.
And it adds one more meeting to the process.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend of mine who did a subdivision in Reedfield, and he said, I kid you not, it took me a year. In Reedfield, it took me a year. I'd go to a meeting, and they'd say, yeah, everything looks good, we need this and this. I'd go back to the next meeting, oh, we overlooked this and this, we need that. And he said, every meeting, they'd come up with something else that they didn't recognize that they had missed at the previous meeting.
Yeah.
But he said, it was a year. It took me a year to get a simple subdivision approved, 5-lot subdivision.
Mhm.
Without a road. They're all roadfront lots.
Sounds like what Belgrade might need in order to help our process get a little shorter and smoother is a full-time paid planner.
That ain't gonna happen.
I know,
Yeah,
But-
it's not.
but if we had it, then we could get information.
That ain't
We
gonna
could
happen.
expedite.
First of all, you don't have enough commercial applications to even come close
I
to
know.
wording that.
I know, I'm not saying it ever will happen, but if you did,
It is amazing to me though, and I only know this from, prior to retirement, the number of towns that I've worked with that are about the same size and population as Belgrade, maybe a little bit bigger, like New Gloucester and towns like that do have full-time town planners.
Yeah.
I mean, there are also towns that have full-time public works departments too, for whatever reason, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but,
The same is true with code enforcement officers. There are a lot of relatively small towns with full-time code officers.
Right. Right.
Pretty much.
so, anyway,
I,
heads up,
Yes,
so,
okay.
incoming round.
one of the things Augusta does, not that we should do this, but you go to a planning board meeting, and the first thing they announce at the meeting, I don't know where you are on the agenda, our meetings end at 9 o'clock. If we don't hear yours, you're automatically on the next agenda.
I think Scarborough does that too,
Yep.
because I remember, just when Becky's father was selling his land to the land trust, the guy from the land trust was on the planning board, might have been chair as an attorney, and, you know, was talking about how they have this huge waiting list, but, you know, they just can't get through. One, it's a lot more activity, of course,
Mhm.
but two, they just, you know, say, we don't cut it off, we'll be there until 1 o'clock in the morning.
We've been there after midnight, once, twice.
So there were a couple of similar kind of updates.
Who is Matt
Tell me.
Scott? I keep hearing Matt Scott's name. Who is he?
He lives up on the Gowl Road.
Okay, yeah,
on
David
West
Pepper
Road.
cut wood up there this past
David,
winter.
yeah. And he used to
Is he
be,
an older man?
yeah, he's probably 80, I guess. now.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
he worked for the DEP, he was the head of the Lakes
Okay.
Division.
Oh.
For decades.
And then he went, he was nuclear waste for a while when they were trying to find places to dispose.
But he was also deputy commissioner of Inland Fish and Wildlife when
Okay.
governor.
Okay.
He's a bee man too.
Yeah,
He knows a lot about
beekeeper.
bees.
Does he?
His boys, Mark Scott
Yeah.
and Greg Scott.
I don't know if I know him.
So Mark was a class of 80 and Greg was a class of like 78 or 79.
Huh.
He's about my size, maybe
Yep.
even a little shorter, wiry.
If you meet him in the woods, you'll have this orange pullover, one of those felt hats. Looks like a little munchkin out there.
When he was younger, he'd have to look at the tops of the trees sometimes to see him, because that's where you'd find them. Scared the crap out of you.
Is that the old family farm that he lives in? up
Yeah,
there?
well, not his family farm, he bought it.
Yep.
He's lived there a long time.
Yep.
But he donated, well, he didn't donate the land, but it's conservation easement now with, the Lakes Association.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever they call it, settlement.
ERCA.
I know David Pepper said after that, that storm we had last fall, he said that was a mess up
Oh,
there.
it did move all kinds of.
Oh, he said it was terrible.
No, he owns some nice land.
Mhm.
And I don't know where Denny got this figure, but he said he's planning to include $3,500 in the budget for the shoreline zoning mapping in 2019. So,
Great.
but I don't know where the $3,500 came from, if we know if that's the right number or not.
I think there was something we threw in there a couple of years ago, and never was spent, or I don't know how much he spent on the school company thing. Then he did say that he was gonna get in touch with them, sure, talk to them about the map stuff that we didn't get back.
Right.
Or didn't get back, I think it's satisfactory. Anyway, go ahead, Joyce.
One of the things I didn't mention is, Andy Dunbar, at the last planning board meeting, he took our shoreline zoning map back to his office, and he made us, I think 2 or 3 duplicate paper copies. Made us several 11 by 7s, and he included it on my computer. So if you, if someone calls me, I can email it to them or whatever.
That's nice.
It's really nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice service.
Yep.
That's very nice. And the last thing was that he just mentioned that Sean Grant, Brightside Marina had, filed their lawsuit in Superior Court.
Yep.
Appealing I guess it's the decision.
Decision of the Board of Appeals.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that afterwards, and I was wondering because the two decisions that we made, right? One was shoreline zoning, which is a de novo appeal, so they recreate the whole thing. And then there was what's the term I'm looking for? The commercial development review ordinance decision, and that was just upholding our decision. And so I don't know how a Superior Court handles that, where you have two different types of appeals for the same facility. But anyway, you just mentioned that had been filed.
Sean's all over the board with this. I was there today.
Oh, yeah. I'm really sorry.
Me
that,
too.
That it's been so hurtful. It was just one of those things, though, that based on the evidence that we had, and the way the ordinances are written right now, I don't know how we could have reached another decision. I just don't get it. That's just my interpretation.
Kind of the worst part about the whole thing in terms of the applicant, I guess. It's kind of like he's operating for a long time, then town says, you need to come in for a permit, and everybody, including him and probably us initially, were thinking, oh, that's good, we'll, get everything up to snuff.
Yeah,
And
didn't go that
then
way.
I happened to be here, because if I wasn't here that night, I'm sure nobody else would have picked up on that
The frontage.
frontage and lot area per use, and everything would be hunky-dory at this point.
May have been. I don't know if I'd have picked up on it myself.
We gotta rule on what our rules are, not, we can't ignore it, 'cause
In his discussion with me today was, if I can't rent boat slips, then I can't rent boat slips, but I gotta do something to supplement that income. So I'll be going back to the planning board, and I'll be putting up a big building, and I'll store more boats than I currently do. Yep, whatever.
who actually owns and operates the, I think that's boat storage or whatever, right in town on the Long Pond side of 27 as you're coming into
Those are
town.
Bob Gardner's.
That's Bob Gardner?
I think so.
I think you're right. That's all.
Oh, and that cinder block building?
Yep. Yep.
Right next to the big the old inn there.
Yep.
Really crying shame that the old building got brought down by putting too much weight on the trusses.
Oh, yeah.
What old building is that?
The original wooden building, they hung boats from the wooden trusses and brought it right down. They end up with a cinder block building.
Well, thanks for those updates.
Yeah, I thought I should pass them on. Some of what happens at Netscott stays at Netscott, but not everything.
Yeah, it's a good thing you weren't invited, we would have had to have a public notice.
Yeah, right, that's right, probably.
Yeah.
We might have anyway.
All right, well, Nick, anything from, you've already talked to us about Denny's gonna be at the next meeting. That would be good.
Denny's gonna be what?
At the next meeting,
Why?
talk about Sewell, what they're gonna be doing and stuff.
Oh, it is?
I guess he reached out to Mary from Worcester Sewell, he hadn't heard back, so that's why I didn't make it to this meeting.
Oh.
He's also.
It's kind of like when we had an agreement for them to take your map and make it better looking,
Yeah.
not better looking, but
Yep.
came back worse.
Yep.
Out of the draft, it had districts like flip-flop.
Mhm.
So we got nothing out of it for 2,000 bucks.
I mean, we might probably want to talk more about whether the $3,500 for revising the map is adequate, given that we spent $2,000 and got zip.
Well, that's why he's waiting for Mary to call, right?
Right, yeah, he called Mary to
to get that number.
Oh,
I
that
guess.
area, okay, all right.
Yep.
yeah. So, because, I mean, you know, typically the way you go about this is you specify the work, scope of work, and you get a bid.
Right.
You don't just pull a number out of the air.
No.
All right, well, we'll look forward to hearing from Denny and speaking with him at the next meeting. Perhaps, that'll be the only agenda item, I don't know, we may get more.
I got an application that will be here. It's just, some renovations to a camp
Okay.
down on Snake Point.
Okay, oh. No, that one. All right, well.
Have you seen the new camp that you gave approval to demo and replace? Remember that? Way down on the very point.
Yeah, I haven't been down
What's
there
that
in a
called?
while.
Is that called Baxter Point?
On the map it's called, isn't it Snake Point?
Oh, no, I'm
Baxter
sorry.
Point's down
Yeah,
here.
that's where I'm talking about, down at camp.
Like Woodland?
Woodland, yeah,
Oh,
that's Baxter Point.
Yeah.
we did give approval
Yeah.
for something down there.
Yeah,
Kind of a-
he's gonna be coming in too, but I don't know when. He had one building, small building, 60 feet maybe, that a tree came down and crushed. And there's another one that's in poor shape, that's not very big either, but he's thinking he may like to remove those two buildings and add that square footage to the older camp that's on the property.
Oh,
I said, submit the application. Obviously, it's probably gonna make that building, in terms of setback, more non-conforming, because I mean, if you recall.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one,
Yeah.
water on each side, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's surrounded on 3 sides by water.
Yeah, but I said, if you might put it on, the addition on the end and not make it more conforming, I don't know. I said, put an application together, because, I mean, you'd be going from 3 non-conforming structures to 1, so, I don't know. I don't know how the planning board will look at that.
yeah, it's an interesting dilemma.
But they replaced that boathouse as well, if you remember that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, because they got a big pulley system, and in the wintertime, you said the trusses, they hoist it right up, so it's out of the water, hanging inside the boathouse.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty neat.
so they must have engineered that.
Oh yeah, this great big, of the laminate beams,
Yeah.
big ones inside. It's beefy. Yeah.
Well,
You haven't gotten any complaints about that, have you? Just because it's where it's located?
Because it's, no.
You talk about us sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that they got a permit.
Yeah, all that stuff, and we try to remind people, right?
No, you bring it up a lot.
Right, it's gonna be high visibility item,
I can't,
town's gonna hear comments, good or bad.
I can't imagine how he's gonna live down there in the dead of the winter. That point goes down to nothing, and you gotta plow all the way in from a mile back.
Yeah.
Windy.
Yeah, right.
The hottest day in July, it's friggin' cold down there. It's like, ooh, the wind's blowing 50 miles an hour. There's no mosquitoes though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
Got that going for you. Yeah, I have nothing else to add for tonight, so I think we can call it just before 9, which is great. So thanks, everybody. Nick, I guess I would say, if you run across people that are interested in volunteering for a position on the planning board, we'd be happy to get another member to come on board.
I will ask around.
Because we have a vacancy in Sergeant Road.
So nobody knows that Roger's not sick or anything. It's unlike them to miss 2 meetings in a row.
Yeah, I've not heard from him.
Oh, he missed the last one too?
He went
He was camping that time.
last night.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
he had emailed. But I didn't see anything on my phone. He may have got that. All right, Youth Day on Saturday.
Yeah, I let a friend take his kid over to my property, so I promised him I won't go over there and run my chainsaw, and I won't go over there and build